Hola, nuevos amigos. ¿Cómo están hoy? How are you today? ¿Bien? ¡Qué bien! Me da mucho gusto. Wow, nuevos amigos. Here we are once again at the end of another set of lessons. We've learned so many new and interesting things as we've taken a tour through the countries of Latin America and Spain. I feel like I'm becoming a world traveler, don't you? Now it's time for a review of all the things we've studied and learned in lessons 11 through 19. Get out your Spanish journals and be prepared to write down any information from our previous lessons that you might have missed. Saquen sus diarios de español y prepárense para escribir. We've had 9 new verbs throughout the lessons in this unit, and today's review is no exception. It's time for the verb of the day, el verbo del día.
El verbo del día es terminar, to finish, terminar.
Let's conjugate the verb terminar, to finish. Yo termino, I finish. Tú terminas, you finish. Él, ella termina, he, she finishes. Usted termina. You finish formal. Nosotros terminamos. We finish. Ustedes terminan. You all finish. In Lesson 11, we learned about the country of modern Argentina, the land of silver. We studied the culture of the gauchos, or Argentinian cowboys, and how the tango became a popular dance throughout the world. The verb of the day was bailar, to dance. And in the first dialogue, our students used the sentences, ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? And Yo cocino los huevos. I am cooking eggs. Lesson 11's vocabulary included the terms la cascada, waterfall, el cuero, leather, el gaucho, Argentinian cowboy, la estancia, cattle ranch, el presidente, president, and el tango, tango, el ritmo, rhythm, resbalar, to slide. We learned the word for barbecue, el asado, and for fire, el fuego. We discovered the unique hunting tool of the gauchos, la boleadora, and also the verb to hunt, cazar. In our second dialogue, we used the verb of the day, bailar, and used the sentences, ¿Qué vas a bailar? What are you going to dance? And Yo voy a bailar un tango. I am going to dance a tango. In Lesson 12, we learned about Venezuela and how the indigenous Warao people inspired the explorers to name the country Little Venice. We learned about the Warao people and their culture, and we listened to gaitas music, a traditional style of music that comments on modern-day life. We also visited a Venezuelan cafe and discovered the traditional food called arepas and cachapas. The verb of the day was traer, to bring. And in our first dialogue, our students used the conjugated form of the verb traer. ¿Qué traes en la canasta? What do you bring in the basket? And traigo unas semillas. I bring some seeds. Lesson 12's vocabulary included the terms el mundo, world, la choza, hut, el techo, roof, la pared, wall, la brisa, breeze, la hamaca, hammock. We also learned the words el conjunto, ensemble, la temporada, season, el instrumento, instrument, variedad, variety, popular, popular. In our second dialogue, the students used the sentences, ¿Quieres comer en mi casa? Do you want to eat at my home? And, sí, ¿quieres que traiga un platillo venezolano? Yes, would you like me to bring a Venezuelan dish? In Lesson 13, we looked at the beautiful country of Colombia, where they celebrate flowers every year with La Feria de las Flores. We learned about the legend of the Golden One and the quest for treasure in Lake Guatavita. We also saw the famous architecture of the sanctuary of Our Lady of Las Lajas. Can anyone remember what our verb of the day was? No peeking at your notes. The verb of the day was celebrar, to celebrate. In our first dialogue, the students conjugated the verb celebrar and used the sentences, Hoy celebramos el cumpleaños de la maestra. Today we celebrate the teacher's birthday. And vamos a celebrar al mediodía. We are going to celebrate at noon. The new vocabulary words in this lesson were el jefe, chief, el polvo, dust, el túnel, tunnel, la investigación, investigation, la iglesia, church, la imagen, image. We also learned the words la belleza, beauty, la gente, people, el mediodía, noon, la tarde, afternoon or evening, la noche, night. In our second dialogue, we use the sentences, ¿De qué es tu investigación? What is your investigation about? And, mi investigación es de la cultura colombiana. My investigation is about the Colombian culture. Muy bien, nuevos amigos. Now that we've reviewed 3 lessons, it's time for a break. Let's relax for a moment and take a look at one of my favorite segments. Watch this.
The land of the Dominican Republic goes from high mountains that are 10,000 feet above sea level down to beautiful coastline and beaches. Its climate, as in Cuba and Puerto Rico, is tropical and pleasant. This climate, along with the rich soil in the valleys and plains, makes the Republic a place where agriculture is the most important industry, la industria. One of those agricultural products is sugar, el azúcar, the white gold of the Caribbean. Sugar production, la producción de azúcar, has a long history on the island. Christopher Columbus discovered the island in 1492, and when Spanish settlers arrived, they found fertile land and a group of indigenous people, the Taínos, who knew how to grow crops. The Spaniards took advantage of the Taínos' knowledge of agriculture and eventually enslaved them to work on their farms. The Spanish established the first sugar plantations in America, and sugar was produced by the Taíno people and later by African slaves. By 1496, the Spaniards had established the capital city of Santo Domingo, which became a major port where Spanish ships stopped to get supplies. It also became a port where African slaves were sold to other settlers across the Americas. It took a long time and a bloody history for slavery to be abolished. After the abolition of slavery, the French who had occupied Haiti, the neighboring country within the island, wanted to conquer the Dominican Republic. Wars with France followed, and the free slaves, who were already poor, saw themselves with no other choice than to become farmers for the rich plantation owners at extremely low wages. Their economic situation was better, but not much, and it was not until the U.S. intervention in 1916 that peace was restored and economic growth improved. Today, the Dominicans who work in the sugar industry, La Industria de Azúcar, are employed by one of three major producers: the government, by an American corporation, or by a private Dominican company. The colonos sell their harvest, la cosecha, directly to the sugar mills where sugar is processed. The Dominican Republic exports half of its sugar to the United States. About 85% of the Dominican population is dedicated to agriculture, and the majority of these people are involved in the production of sugar. Altogether, 592,800 acres of land are devoted to growing sugarcane, caña de azúcar, and the Dominican Republic is the fourth largest sugar producer in the world.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. There are so many interesting things to learn about Latin America, aren't there? Let's go back to our review. In Lesson 14, we learned about the diverse geography of Bolivia. We looked at the traditional clothing of the indigenous people and learned how the wisdom of ancient medicine is being combined with modern medicine to provide the latest health care. ¡Qué interesante! The verb of the day was honrar, to honor. And in our first dialogue, our students used the sentences ¿Qué honran ellos en la ceremonia? What do they honor in the ceremony? And ellos honran al director. They honor the principal. Lesson 14's vocabulary included the terms la ceremonia, ceremony, la cordillera, mountain range, el altiplano, plateau, el oriente, orient, la población, population. We also learned the words la moda, fashion, la plaza, town square, la prenda, garment, and la creencia, belief, la universidad, university, la medicina, medicine, la salud, health. In our second dialogue, we used the following sentences and conjugated the verb honrar. Yo honro a mis abuelos por lo que hacen por mí. I honor my grandparents for what they do for me. And me ayudan en mis tareas de la escuela. They help me in my school homework. In Lesson 15, we sailed to El Mar del Caribe and toured through modern Cuba. We learned about the Cuban education system, the poet and hero José Martí, and their socialist form of government. The verb of the day was enseñar, to teach. And in our first dialogue, our students used the sentences ¿Me enseñas a restar? Can you teach me to subtract? And claro, es fácil. Of course, it's easy. The new vocabulary words in this lesson were El Mar del Caribe, Caribbean Sea, El Huracán, Hurricane, La Plantación, Plantation, Socialista, Socialist. We also learned the words El Héroe, Hero, El Aeropuerto, Airport, La Palabra, Word, El Verso, Verse, La Amistad, Friendship, and La Educación, Education, Gratis, Free, at no cost. El libro, book. El uniforme, uniform. La prueba, test. In our second dialogue, the students used the following sentences and conjugated the verb enseñar, to teach. Mira, el maestro les enseña a leer. Look, the teacher teaches them to read. And, sí, qué bien, mi hermanita está en esa clase. Yes, that's good. My little sister is in that class. In Lesson 16, the next Latin American country we visited in El Mar del Caribe was the country of Puerto Rico. We learned how they began as a colony of Spain and are now a commonwealth of the United States. We looked at the large fortress of El Morro and the tiny tree frog, El Coquí, their national symbol. The verb of the day was proteger, to protect. And in the first dialogue, our students used the sentences, ¿Te protejo de la lluvia? Should I protect you from the rain? And, ¿Tienes un paraguas? Do you have an umbrella? Our new vocabulary words in this lesson included the terms el gobernador, governor, la ley, law, la marcha, march, la mayoría, majority, el permiso, permission, el himno, anthem, and la fortaleza, fortress, el cañón, cannon, el barco, ship. We also learned the terms la rana, frog, la deforestación, deforestation, la llamada, call, la leyenda, legend, la fortuna, fortune. In our second dialogue, we used the sentences La fortaleza, El Morro, protegía a San Juan de los piratas. The fortress of El Morro protected San Juan from the pirates. ¡Qué increíble! ¡Todavía existe! That's incredible! It still exists. We learned many new terms related to politics and government as we've studied the countries of Cuba and Puerto Rico, haven't we? Let's take another break before we continue our review and enjoy another feature you'll recall from one of our previous lessons.
Did you know that many of the cut flowers sold in the United States come from Colombia? That's right. Colombia has a diverse land and climate where you can find a great variety of flowers, from tropical to desert species. Colombia ranks second in flower exportation after Holland. The study of flower growth and cultivation is called floriculture. There are schools and universities that offer degrees in horticulture or the study of plants and flowers. Medellin is one of the cities where floriculture is popular and where the variety of flowers is so great that it is called the City of the Eternal Spring. Once a year, Medellin celebrates and honors all the flower growers and their products by hosting the Fair of Flowers, La Feria de las Flores. During this event, visitors enjoy parades where floats and areas of the city are decorated with colorful blossoms. La Feria de las Flores began in 1957 and is now a popular tradition. The fair lasts 5 days and events are organized throughout the day. Many tourists travel to Medellin to experience La Feria de las Flores. A favorite event is the traditional parade of the silleteros. People, la gente, create artistic displays of flowers, a kind of large flower wreath that can weigh up to 150 pounds and carry them in the parade. The procession grew from the tradition of bringing flowers to market on structures made in the form of a chair and carried in from the countryside like a modern backpack. These wreaths are made with fresh flowers that are placed to make designs and sayings, dichos, and written messages. La Feria de las Flores is eagerly anticipated for its beauty, su belleza, its fun, and the sense of community that it brings to the population of Medellin every year.
Let's move on to Lesson 17. In Lesson 17, we learned the history of sugar el azúcar in the New World and how it became one of the major agricultural exports of the Dominican Republic. We also learned how the Dominican people dance the merengue, their national dance, and are crazy about the sport of baseball. The verb of the day was jugar, to play. And in the first dialogue, our students used the sentences, ¿Juegas béisbol? Do you play baseball? And más o menos, pero tengo un guante. So, but I have a glove. The new vocabulary words in this lesson were el vecino, neighbor, el azúcar, sugar, la caña de azúcar, sugarcane, la producción, production, la industria, industry, la cosecha, harvest, el cristal, crystal. We also learned the terms el paso, step, el festival, festival, el escenario, stage, famoso, famous, and el béisbol, baseball, el deporte, sport, el equipo, team, el guante, glove. In our second dialogue, we used the conjugated form of jugar in the sentences, ella siempre juega en mi equipo. She always plays on my team. And, ¿puedo jugar en tu equipo también? Can I play on your team too? In Lesson 18, we went to Europe and learned about the cultural heritage of Spain, the land where Castellano, the Spanish language, originated. We also looked at the expressive dance style and music known as flamenco and discovered the famous Spanish novel Don Quixote by the writer Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. The verb of the day was escribir, to write. And in the first dialogue, our students used the conjugated form of escribir in the following sentences. ¿Qué escribes? What do you write? And estoy escribiendo mi composición. I am writing my composition. The new vocabulary words in this lesson were la herencia, heritage, la patria, native land, la provincia, province, la unidad, unity, la novela, novel, el caballero, knight, el siglo, century, el molino, windmill. We learned the term for a male gypsy, el gitano, and a female gypsy, la gitana. We also learned la guitarra, guitar, and la pasión, passion. In our second dialogue, we used the sentences, ¿Qué vas a escribir? What are you going to write? And voy a escribir novelas como la de Don Quijote. I am going to write novels like the one about Don Quixote. In Lesson 19, we looked at how the Spanish language is part of the business world and the global economy. We learned how a Chamber of Commerce works and talked with people that use English and Spanish in their everyday work environments. The verb of the day was negociar, to negotiate, which is an important ability when it comes to doing business. In the first dialogue, our students used the sentences, ¿Qué negocias ahorita? What do you negotiate now? And estoy recaudando fondos para el Club de Francés. I'm raising funds for the French Club. The new vocabulary words in this lesson were la economía global, global economy, la oportunidad, opportunity, la Cámara de Comercio, Chamber of Commerce, la red de trabajo, network, and la publicidad, advertising, la destreza, skill, La fuerza de trabajo, workforce. We also learn words related to the performing arts, such as el teatro, theater, la obra, play, el repertorio, repertoire. In our second dialogue, we use the sentences, ¿de qué se trata el trato? What is the deal about? And se trata de hacerle publicidad a nuestra obra de teatro. It's about advertising our play. Let's take another break and enjoy another feature from one of our past lessons. I think you'll like this.
The most popular type of Dominican music known around the world is the merengue. It's also the national dance of the Dominican Republic. Merengue dancing combines the Spanish two-step, el paso doble, along with the fast rhythm of the African tom-tom drum. The merengue has its roots in Latin and African rhythms. The farmers of the Cibao region developed the folk merengue style, where it is played on the traditional tambora, a drum with two ends, the guira, a scraper, and the accordion. They turned it into a national obsession. Every year, at the end of July, thousands of people attend the Merengue Festival, Festival de Merengue, in Santo Domingo. The festival lasts several days, and people dance to the music of the best-known merengueros who perform on a street stage, El Escenario. This is the largest merengue festival in the world. The famous, el famoso, and world-acclaimed modern merengue singer, Juan Luis Guerra, is from the Dominican Republic. The joyful sounds and upbeat rhythms of merengue music and dance unite people from all walks of life.
We've learned many fascinating things in lessons 11 through 19, and I hope you've had a lot of fun as you've expanded your Spanish vocabulary and developed your ability to speak and write. Now, turn to a new page in your Diarios de Español, because it's time for your final student composition in this unit. Imagine that you are making a movie about any of the countries that we have learned throughout lessons 11 through 19. Write a list of the places, events, and people that you will visit within this country. Next to it, write the specific things that you will film for the movie. For example, if you choose the country of Venezuela, then Venezuela would be the title. Then make your list like this. Caracas. Film a gaitas conjunto and interview the musicians. Rio Orinoco. Film nature, the native people, and the huts on stilts. Muy bien, Nuevos Amigos. I'm so proud of you. You've worked hard on the second set of 10 lessons and have accomplished so much. You've done an excellent job. Han hecho un trabajo excelente. If you have any interesting information or fun ideas about Latin American culture and history, then I'd like to hear from you. Write me a message and have your teacher email it to me. Mándame un correo electrónico. The email address is nuevosamigos@dallasisd.org. Remember, when you learn to speak another language, you also make new friends. Acuérdense, cuando aprendemos más de un idioma, podemos hacer nuevos amigos. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Cuídense y espero verlos pronto.